Okay, so if you go to, if you're interested in following along, do this 7, and what it is project 2. I have it on the syllabus that I'm not going to assign it to you guys for a little while, but what I discovered in my beginning web design class is that it's better if I give you the information now, because then you'll have more time to work on it, and hopefully maybe it'll screw up your spring break or something like that. So if you are on the website, click on the link right there. It'll launch a little PDF. Hopefully, eventually. My laptop is super slow right now. Okay, now what Project 2 is, it's in a nutshell, what it is it's learning how to make your own custom templates for WordPress. Okay, now a template is what's used to create a page in WordPress, right? Like for example, in the standard WordPress, or in 2012, which is the WordPress theme that we're all using, it comes with 3 templates. It comes with one called Default, which is basically a page with a sidebar on it. It comes with one called Full Width, which is where the sidebar goes away, right? And it's just one full width page. And then it comes with one called Front Page, and that's just a template you can use for your front page, and it has special features to it. Well, most WordPress themes come with a few templates like that, but the idea is that you, being a developer, will be able to create your own custom themes and do whatever you want with them, right? So this handout that I gave you, the stapled handout, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to create our first custom template from WordPress, and the assignment, Project 2, is going to be for you to create your own custom templates, right? And you're going to have until basically early April to do this. So we're going to go through, and just to give you a heads up, what we're doing tonight is it's a lengthy process, and it's a little difficult just because it takes time. It's not really hard, it just takes time to go through all the steps. Not all templates are this hard to customize. I'm actually giving you a hard one with a lot of coding just to show you what it can be like. But after this, in the next couple classes, I'll show you some easy ways to customize templates. But I want you to know that WordPress can be quite full of code, and it can take a lot of work to make the changes that you want. And that's part of what we're going to experience tonight. Okay, so going back to Project 2 here, like I said, it's going to be, the project is going to be to make your own custom templates and also to apply a few custom styles to them. And one of the examples I give is, what if you wanted to take the sidebar, which is currently on the right in the 2012 theme, left? And that's actually what this is. To complete this, you'll actually have the first part of Project 2. The next week, I'll show you how to do these and give you information on how to do that too. Okay. If you have any questions, kind of yell them out as we're talking about this stuff. Okay. One thing that I want to tell you before we get into talking about, before we start going through that handout, is I want to explain to you how margins and padding are done. And if you refer back to our cheat sheet, what we just talked about, you'll know that if this is a div and the dashed line represents content, then space between the div and the content is padding. And if this is another div, the space between this div and the other div is what? Margin. Excuse me. Now, I've added a few links to our resources page down in the web design section. I put the H sheet and the CSS cheat sheet there. If you want to print them up yourself and get a slightly better printout, or just refer to them online. And then I also put a third link here, which is called Figuring Out the Numbers in Margins and Padding. Okay. Now, let me demonstrate to you, before we get into this, exactly what we're talking about. I'm going to go to Dreamweaver here. I'm going to make a new page, and I'm going to use it to demonstrate how margin and padding work. So inside my web page here, in the body section, I'm going to create a div and an end div tag. And I'm just going to give it some dimensions here. So I'm going to say style equals width 200 pixels, height 200 pixels, and I'll give it a color too so we can see it. Okay, let's see what happens with that. Okay, so we get a little div there, right? Now, if I want to put some content in that div, I click between the beginning and the end div tags. Let me try and make this a little clearer. It's hard because my screen is so small. Okay, so I click. I'm going to push this down so you can see that this is the beginning div tag, and this is the end div tag. Now, if I want to put content in here, I just say, you know, this is my content. I put it in between the div tags, and it appears right there. Now, do you notice how that content is positioned? Where is it positioned? Upper left. Is it touching the walls of the div? It's touching the left and the top, right? Now, that's the default for content. Any content you put inside a div is automatically going to go to the top left. Now, you said before that if I wanted to move this content away from the walls of my div on the inside, I had to use padding, right? So if I go up here to my style, which is being applied to this div, and I say padding, and I put in the number 10 pixels, suddenly my content moves 10 pixels away from the edge of the wall, right? Now, the thing that you need to know is that that number padding actually can be split up into a number of different ways. When you're talking about a div here, your div has 4 sides to it. It's a box, right? It has the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. Now, this attribute padding can be used to apply to all 4 sides of the content, or it can be used to apply to individual sides, right? So, for example, if I put the word padding and I put one number in, then it applies to how many of those sides? All 4, okay? Because I just said padding, so that means even if I take this and I say, you know, I keep typing, when I get to the edge here, you see how it pushes me back? In other words, as soon as I get 10 pixels from the right edge, it pushes me back. So it put 10 pixels all the way around, and if I went all the way down to the bottom, there would be 10 pixels at the bottom too, right? Now, that's just me putting one number in, right? If I put 2 numbers in, if I say padding is 10 pixels, and then I put a second number in here, I put a space in between them, and now I have 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Let's see what happens over here. Okay, it may be a little difficult to tell. Can anybody tell where the 10 and the 20 are being distributed? Right, so the 10 is on the top, and the 20 is on the sides, right? So if I put 2 numbers, see how that's a little bigger than this? It's hard to tell. But if I put one number in, it gets applied to all 4 sides. If I put 2 numbers in, the first number applies to the top and bottom. The second number applies to the left and the right. Okay?
You can do all 4 numbers.
What's that?
Can you do all 4 numbers?
You can do all 4 numbers. And if you do all 4 numbers, what happens there?
I'm guessing it's like top, bottom.
That's exactly right. If you do all 4 numbers, the first number is the top, the second number is the right, the third number is the bottom, and the fourth number is the left. Now the way to remember that is you start at the top and you move in a clockwise fashion around. Okay? Another way to remember it is by this acronym, the word trouble. Top, right, bottom, left, with those letters capitalized. Okay? Now, so far so good, right? One number, all four sides, two numbers. The first number is the top and bottom. Second number is the left and right. Four numbers, one for each side going top, right, bottom, left. Now here's the one that is confusing. You ready? Three numbers. What happens if you have three numbers? Does your head explode? I know mine is currently. Okay, three numbers. Let's look at what happens if we have three numbers. Let's see, where is it? I just opened it somewhere. I think it's this. No, it's not. Okay, so let's click here, figure out the numbers. Oh, it's on my Acrobat file, that's what it is. Okay, here it is. Okay, here's the answer. Oh, scary. Okay. One value applies to all four sides. Two values, the top and bottom margins, are set to the first value, and the right and left are set to the second. Now here's the weird one. If there are three values, the top is set to the first value, the left and right are set to the second, and the bottom is set to the third. Weird, huh? Fourth one applies to all four sides, right? Now, why would I torture you with this information? Could it be because what we're going to do tonight applies to this? I think it could, right? And unfortunately, unfortunate as it is, it's this one that's in the mix, the three numbers, right? Now, fortunately tonight, we're not going to have to change this, okay? But I need you guys to understand it, all right? Now, you can see down here that it gives the examples in code. You know, if you put ems, which is a unit of measurement, you know, that's all four sides. This is top and bottom, right and left. This is top, right and left, bottom, top, right, bottom, left. Okay, and it says so right over there. Now, so far we've just been talking about padding, which is the space on the inside. The good news is the exact same rules apply to margin. Okay, so if we're now talking about space on the outside, you know, you want to move this whole div away, you know, like you want to move it on the top, you want to put more space on the top or on the right or on the bottom or left. Exact same system applies. So how do the numbers in margin and padding apply? So now you guys can answer this question for me that I found on the internet. Does margin 5 pixels 0 mean margin 5 pixels 0, 0, 0? Or margin 5 pixels 0, 5 pixels 0? What's the answer to that?
5 pixels, 5 pixels.
Two numbers means that the first number are the top and the bottom, and that the second number is the right and the left. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Okay, so just know that. It's one of the, HTML and CSS are pretty straightforward, but every now and then you run into a weird little roadblock like this that'll throw you. This is on our website in the resources section, so you can refer back to it. Okay? All right, so that's margin and padding. Okay, we are here. We have arrived at the scary handout. This one right here. Okay. So, everybody has started up Dreamweaver and imported their site. And I'd also like you to go in Firefox to your website. And I'd like you to do two things. I'd like you to go to Firefox and go to your website. And I'd like you to open up two tabs, one that shows the front of your website and one that where you're logged into the dashboard. So we're going to be doing three things here. We're going to be working with Dreamweaver and FTPing up to the site. We're going to be downloading some files and we're going to be changing the code. And then we're going to be looking at the site both in the front view and the dashboard or the back view. Okay, so where do we start? Well, let's start with Dreamweaver. Let's go to Dreamweaver. You guys have all imported your sites, right? And let's go ahead and let's connect up to our WordPress websites. And the way we do that is we click on this little button right here, which is the button which will connect us to our server. Yeah, I'm going to have to show you that on break, right? I'll tell you what. Well, let's do something to make it really easy on everybody. Let's take our break now. The people who weren't here last week, I'm going to show you how to connect up to your site, and then when we come back, we can all do it together. Sound good? All right, go on break. Okay, those of you who were not here last week, you need to stay, and I'm going to go through it on the board here of how to connect up to your site. So stick around for that. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, let's see, by a show of hands one more time. I know it's Alex, it's Jason, who else? Kathy, anybody else? Just you guys? Okay. All right, great. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to navigate, you're going to click on the Windows button in the lower left corner. And then when this menu pops up, you're going to click on Computer. And then when this window comes up, you're going to double click on User Files. Now once you're in here, you're going to go up to the top of the screen, you're going to click on New Folder, and you're going to create a folder with your name and the class number. So like I'm going to call mine like Lemo 257, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, now that's the folder where we're going to store all our Dreamweaver stuff. Okay, once you've done that, go back to Dreamweaver. All right, now what we're going to do in Dreamweaver, we're going to do something called setting up a site. And what that is, it's just where you point Dreamweaver to a folder, in this case the folder we just made, and say, hey Dreamweaver, this is what's called our local root folder. This is where we're going to save all our local files, right? So that's half the equation. The other half of the equation is we're going to point Dreamweaver to a server, and that's what this sheet is, that is going to be the remote location where your website is going to live online. Okay? And in fact, your website's already there. We're going to point it to your existing WordPress websites. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is go into Dreamweaver, click up at the top where it says Site, and then come down and click on New Site. All right, now for the site name, just call it WordPress. And then in the second box down where it says Local Site Folder, go to the right and click on the little folder icon. Now, navigate, you can click on Computer and then User Files. Navigate and find your folder that you just saved on the User Files. And double click on it to open it up. And then click the Select button. So what happened? It said that there was already one? Okay, call it WordPress 2. And did you make a new folder with that yet? Okay, so go ahead and save it. Okay, click on servers. Okay, is everybody there? So hit select. Okay, so that's all we have to do to set up the local site. Now we're going to set up the server. So on the left-hand side of your screen, click on Servers. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, click on the plus symbol in the lower left corner. And it will come up with a box like this. Type WordPress at the top. And then consult the sheet that I gave you that says FTP usernames and passwords. The FTP address is on the far right side where it says FTP server, so we're going to type in ftp.dreamco.org. The username is the second column. So, for example, Jason, yours would be student6@dreamco.org. I'm going to use Jason's just as a test here. And then the password is that big, scary, long password in the third column. Make sure you get the upper and lower case and that you get all the correct symbols in there. So I'm going to try and type Jason's in here. Okay, I just typed that whole password and I wasn't in the right box. Okay. Anyway, so go ahead and type your password in there and then click on the test button. And you should get a notice that Dreamweaver connected to your website successfully. And go ahead and hit OK if you get that. Then hit save. And then hit save. And then you should be done. Oh, now, there's one last thing we have to do after that. Were you successful, Kathy?
No, I'm testing.
Okay.
It's successful.
Okay, good. So hit save and then save. Alex, were you successful?
Yep.
Okay. So now there's one more thing we have to do. Like I said, this deep freeze program goes in and throws away our preferences every time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to export our preferences file into the same folder so that we can import it next time. Okay? So what you need to do now is go up to the top of your window where it says Site and come down to Manage Sites. Now, in this little window that pops up, you're going to go down to the lower left portion where there's 4 little icons, and you're going to click on the icon that looks like a folder with an arrow on it. It's called Export the Currently Selected Site. Okay? Then you're going to navigate to your folder that you just made. It may open right into it. If not, you have to navigate to it. And then you want to save your file as, it should be called WordPress. Okay, hold on. Oh yeah. If you get, I'm sorry, if you get a little screen that says backup my settings, just hit OK on that. And then, is that the one you just made? Okay. So then just save your file inside your WordPress folder and then hit done. Did that work for you, Jason?
Yeah.
Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys are all good. So now you should be set up just the same as us. You can click that little connect button to connect up to your website, so you'll be in the same position as everybody else. How we doing? You guys ready to get started again? Sooner we start, the sooner we leave. So you're all about that, huh, Serena?
Oh, yeah.
The sooner we start, the sooner you're at home looking at Pinterest. Instead of the cheesy school Pinterest. Okay, you can look at it here, look at it on your phone on the way home, and then look at it at home. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start now with the process of doing what it says on this sheet, and I'm going to explain things as we go along. Now, yes, you may. Take that one, and I've got one right here for me. Okay, so so the thing we need to do first of all is let's go back to our WordPress website. And let's go to the tab where we're logged into the dashboard. Okay? And then over on the left-hand side, let's roll over the word Appearance. And then let's come down to the word Editor at the bottom of the Appearance flyout menu and click on that. Now, we should be on a page where we see a bunch of file names on the right-hand side, are we? Yes, we are. Okay. So what I want you to do is scroll down on the far right side until you see where it says front page, template page, full width, template page, and page template. Now, you guys are not going to have this one right here that says left sidebar template because that's what we're actually going to make tonight. So you'll have, you might have one called main index template, front page, full width, and page template, but you won't have this one yet. That's what we're going to make. Okay, so what these are the templates that come with WordPress default. Okay? And what we're going to do, the default one, does anybody know what the default template is called of these three? The one that's just used for every single page? Nope. Page. Page.php is the default template for WordPress. So every page that gets made in WordPress gets made from this page unless you apply a different template to it. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to download page.php, and the way we're going to make a custom template is we're going to take that default page, we're going to change it, we're going to customize it, and then we're going to save it under a different name. Okay? And what it will become is our left sidebar template. All right? So let's go back to Dreamweaver now. And in Dreamweaver, I want everybody to click on that little button that's going to connect you up to your website. And then I would like you to click on the button on the far right side of that Files window, which will open up this split screen view for you. Now, your split screen view looks slightly different than mine. You guys are all programmed to drop right into your websites. I'm programmed to look at everybody's website, but what you should see is something that looks similar to, you should basically, let me roll up a little and then it should look just like yours. Okay, you guys should see something that looks kind of like this. Is that what you see in your left-hand window? Okay. All right, so what this is, these are all the files for WordPress, for your website, right? Now, everything like 99% of what you're going to do in WordPress is all going to be in one folder called WP Content, okay? So I want you to take your mouse and I want you to click on the arrow on the left-hand window next to WP Content. It's going to open up more folders. And then inside there's a folder where we're going to do most of our work, and that is which folder? It's called Themes. Now, themes are, a theme is it's a style of website that you're using. In this case, we're using a theme called what? 2012. So open your themes folder by clicking on the arrow next to it, and then open the folder called 2012. Now, believe it or not, actually 99% of what you do on any WordPress website is all going to occur inside the theme folder for that particular theme. So you should see files that look like this. Now, if you scroll down until you see the page.php file. It should be right under a folder called Page Templates. Now, if you click your arrow next to the folder called Page Templates, you'll see that inside there are the two other main templates that get used with this theme, the front page template and the full width template. But we're not going to concern ourselves with those right now. We can close that folder right up. We are instead going to concern ourselves with this file called page.php. Now, the way that we download files to Dreamweaver, through Dreamweaver to our computer, is we double-click on them in this window. So what I want you to do is double-click on the page.php file in the left window. And it may ask you a question like, you know, do you need to bring down dependent files? And you can say no. And when you double-click on it, it should download it to your computer, and it should open it back behind here in Dreamweaver. When that happens, I would like you to go to the button at the top right and click on that. That's the button that collapses this menu. And what you should see is the page.php file right here. Is everybody with me? Okay, if you're...
I'm not with you.
What's that?
I'm not with you. I'm not sure. I'm stuck here.
Oh, it's not connecting? Oh, this is legit. we're just gonna reset it up. Okay, give me a second, you guys.
Those are the ones that we're gonna create for the project. So
Okay, tell them that so it'll work next time. Okay, everybody's here? We're on the page.php file? Okay, great. So, so let's take a quick look at this file. Let's scroll down a little bit so you can see most of it. Now, WordPress is coded in a coding language called PHP. And PHP is an acronym for something called Hypertext Preprocessing. And the letters are all kind of jumbled around, but basically what it means in a nutshell is it's code that gets processed on the server before the web page is served up to the user. So for example, if you want to make a web page with PHP, you could access a database and pull in all that information from the database before the user even sees the web page and then serve up a whole database worth of information. So PHP is a dynamic coding language as opposed to the static kind of websites you make in just HTML that just have whatever you put on them in the first place. PHP is dynamic, you can go out and get new information. Okay? That's why it's used with WordPress, is because WordPress is constantly accessing a database for whatever updates you made and then putting those on the web page. So what you have at the top of this page is in red, you have an angle bracket, question mark, and then the letters PHP, which mean that this page is coded in PHP, right? PHP has tags just like HTML has tags, and a tag is anything that's enclosed in angle brackets. So you can see this first PHP tag starts on line 1 and ends on line 15 where the close angle bracket is. So that's the tag itself. What this particular tag is doing is spelled out on line 15. It's doing something called a function. And a function is like a little subroutine. It's like a little program that was already created for you. And what this one does is get header, just like it says. So it literally goes and grabs the header section of your website and puts it at the top of every page. Okay? So that's pretty easy to understand. And in fact, this particular template, the reason we use this is because it's so easy. Now, when we go down to the bottom, we can see two more functions. We'll go to the very most bottom. This one's called getFooter. That's easy to understand. It just gets the bottom of the website and slaps it on at the bottom. Right above it is one called getSidebar. Okay, we're 3/4 of the way to a website. We've got the header, the footer, and the sidebar. What's missing? The main content area, right? So that means that everything between this getHeader tag and the getSidebar tag, all this stuff in blue and red and green and yellow, this is all what it does to go grab your data out of the database and format it on the page, okay? And we'll take a quick look at this. But let me go back up to the top and let me talk about this code that is in orange. One of the reasons I like working in Dreamweaver is because it color codes things. Everything that is in orange, which has asterisks next to it and is started out by a / and ended by a / is what's called a comment. A comment is text that is read by you but not the computer. This is an explanation, it's exposition. It talks to you and it says, hey, this is what's going on with this page, just so you'll know. But nothing that happens in between this / and the asterisk, none of that gets sent to the computer, so it doesn't read it. So this simply says this is a template that displays all pages by default, so on and so forth, right? Now there is one use for this comment here, comment section, which it is the section that's used to name templates, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to highlight the orange text on line 3 that says the template for displaying all pages, and we're going to type in new text. We're going to type in template space name colon left sidebar template. Now, by the way, everything that I'm doing is on the paper that I handed out. So if you get a little behind, or you have trouble reading or hearing what I say, then you could use the paper. Okay, so the reason we changed that was because Dreamweaver WordPress will read this and will notice that this is no longer page.php. It will now consider it the left sidebar template. Okay, so we've just done the first step there. Now, if we come down, I'm just going to explain what's happening in the center area here, which we know is the area that goes and gets the main content for the website, right? What we have is we have some divs here that are used to format the website. We have one called primary with a class of site content, and then we have one called content with a role of main. So those are just divs. They start up here, and you can see that they end down here at the bottom. And these gray things are also comments. And for example, this one that says # content, that means that's the end div for this content div. So it starts here, it ends here with a / div. That's the ending for that. And then this one, # primary, is the ending div for the primary. Okay? So we know there's at least 2 divs in there, one nested inside the other. Inside of this div right here is some PHP code, which simply goes out, looks to see if there are posts, like blog posts associated with this page. If there are, it gets them. Looks to see if there's a template associated with this page. If so, it gets it. And looks to see if there are comments written for this page, and then it gets it. Right? And then it ends. This section right here is referred to as the loop. And a loop in code is code that goes and loops through the database over and over until it runs out of things to look at. So what happens is you create a page in WordPress, right? Behind the scenes, what WordPress is doing, it's creating the page with this template. Then when somebody clicks a link to go to that page, it accesses the database and says, bring in the header, bring in the footer, bring in the sidebar, checks the database to see if there's any posts, see if there's a template, and see if there's any comments. It just loops through until it exhausts all those possibilities, and then it spits out the page. It does all that in nanoseconds. So that's why the websites are so fast, is because it can do that very quickly. Okay, now you guys might be wondering, where are these divs, the primary and the content div? Well, let's take a look. Let's see where those are. Let's go back to Firefox, and let's go to the tab where we're looking at the front part of our website. Now, what I would like you to do is look in the top right corner of Firefox and click on the little bug that appeared when you installed Firebug. What will happen is the bottom section of your web page will open up into a little couple of boxes here. And what I would like you to do now is take your mouse and click in the lower left corner on this blue box with a blue arrow on top of it. Now, take your mouse and roll it over your web page. And notice that things light up in blue. Now, when you do that, down here in Firebug in the boxes, what appears on the left-hand side is the HTML code that was used to generate that section of the page that you're over. And on the right-hand side is the associated CSS code. Okay? So, for example, if you scroll down to where you're on the page proper, and you roll over, I'm trying to see if I can find this. Okay, I'm having a little trouble finding mine. Let me see, maybe it's wrapper. Okay, let's see if I can find it in here. Main. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, if you roll over the section of your website and roll over so you've got like that section highlighted. Now I know that you guys have yours reversed. The sidebar for yours is on the right. That's because I've already applied what we're going to do tonight to my page. But when you get this highlight right here, go ahead and do that and then click on your web page. Okay? And what should happen is it should highlight a line which says div ID main class equals wrapper. Okay? Once you have that, click on the little arrow to the left of that, and notice what comes up under that. Div ID equals primary, class equals site content. You guys see that?
What was that second step you did?
Okay, I'll do it again. So what you do, you clicked on the blue arrow here. You roll over until, you roll your mouse up until you get a blue box that is covering the width of your content. Then click right on the edge of that blue box. Okay? What it should do down here in the bottom is highlight div ID equals main, class equals wrapper. Once you have that, click on the black arrow to the left of that, and underneath you will see something called div ID equals primary, class equals site content. You guys there? Okay. So that is, if you go back to Dreamweaver now, that is this div right here. Div ID equals primary, class equals site content. So Firebug is a great tool. You can install it on any computer. It's free. And it will allow you to see, by rolling over your website, what sections you're dealing with in the HTML code, and it will also show you what CSS styles are being applied. Okay. So the explanation I'm going to give you as to how we're going to change this page so that the sidebar is on the left instead of the right is that when you look at your page, which looks different from mine, on your page, this main content area is over here, and your sidebar is on the right. Okay? And the reason it's set up that way is because that's the default. It's using a CSS style called site content. When you're using the CSS site content style, this is on the left and the sidebar is on the right, right? So in order to make it so that they switch, we have to create a new style. And what we're going to call that style is site content 2. Okay? So now we're down to the second bullet point on the page. Go to line 17 in your code, and where it says class equals site content, change it to site-content 2. Do not put a space between site content and the number 2. Okay, this makes sense, right? If it's site content, it's going to be on the right, so we're going to make a brand new style called site content 2, and we're going to make that on the left, right? Now, if you look down at the bottom where it says get sidebar, you can assume the same thing, which is if we just go and get the sidebar, it's going to put the sidebar on the right, which means we have to change this code as well so that we can put the sidebar on the left. So now we're down to the third bullet point where it says change line 28 so that it says PHP include sidebar underscore left PHP. Okay? So you're going to put let's see. So you're going to type that. Now, granted, some of this is not going to make sense to you perfectly right now, but you know, after we've done it a few times, it'll start to sink in, hopefully. But basically, the idea is, if the default puts it on the right, then we have to make some new styles and code those so that it'll go to the left. I'll give you a second to finish typing. How we doing? Everybody there? Nearly? Do you guys need another minute? No, we're there. Okay. All right. The next step. Go to File, top left of your menu here, and go to Save As. And save this as left_sidebar_template.php. So now we're going to have a new template that we can use to apply to a page, which is going to put that sidebar on the left side. Okay. Now, there's two other files we're going to need to change. One we're only going to have to make a small change on, the other one we're going to have to change pretty extensively. The other file that we need to change is, there's a file on the WordPress site called sidebar. And of course, if we use that sidebar file, it would show up on the right. So we need to augment that so it will show up on the left. So what we need to do now is we need to click on the little button that connects you back up to your, the button on the far right that gives you the split screen view so you can see both windows again. Now you want to go to the left-hand side of your screen. You want to locate the file called sidebar.php, and you want to double-click on it. And it should do the same thing as the page.php file did, which is it should download to your computer and open up. Once it's done that, go ahead and click on the button at the top right again to collapse that window so that you are on the sidebar page. And it should look something like this. Now we're just going to make one small change in here. It's exactly the same principle. The sidebar contains within it a section called widget area. On line 14, on your files it'll say div ID secondary class equals widget area, right? Well, this controls where the sidebar appears, so we're going to add the number 2 to widget area, so it's now going to say widget area 2. Once again, no space between the A and the 2. Okay, once you've done that, we're going to do File, Save As, and we're going to call this sidebar_left.php. And go ahead and save it. Now we've done all the easy stuff. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to modify the style sheet, and on that we're going to have to do a number of modifications. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to go back to our file window over here and click on the button which opens up the split screen view. So the button on the far right, click on that so that we can see both windows again. And now go over to the left screen and double click on the style.css file. Double click on that to download it and open it on your computer. And once it is downloaded, go ahead and click on the button in the top right of this window to collapse it. and you should see your style sheet. It should look something like this. Now we have to do a number of changes here. I'll tell you in advance, there is a percentage chance that you're not going to get them all and your page will look a little weird. But if that's the case, we can go back through and fix it. But there are a number of changes we have to do. Okay, where we are now is we're down here about halfway down page 1 where it says download style CSS. And we're doing the commands underneath that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a search, right? The way you search is on a PC, you hold down the control button and you hit the letter F. Okay, and what should happen is this window should pop up. This will search your code for styles that you're looking for. I'm hoping that after we've done this a few times, it'll start to make sense to you that, like, if you go out to a web page that you're working on, like this one right here, and you say, gee, I really want to, make something happen here. And then you click on Firebug, and you roll over a section, and you click on it, and you say, oh, that section is called div ID equals primary. Then you realize that you can go to Dreamweaver, you can do Control F, which is the search function, and you could put the word primary in here and do search, and it would take you right to that style so that you could make changes. Okay? Now, we're not going to be searching for primary, we're going to be searching for something different, but this is the philosophy of the way we work on this website. What we're actually looking for here is, in the find box, I want you to type the word site-content. And then I want you to come over here and click the Find All button. Now, I'm going to warn you in advance that my code's going to look a little different than yours because I've already gone in and made the changes that we're going to make, okay? And I will give you one more caveat, which is up here at the very top of your page, it says that when I tell you to look at certain line numbers for the code, on your document it might be slightly less or slightly more, higher or lower line number. So we're going to have you guys find where those are. But let's do this. Let's do Find All. What happens is a window appears at the bottom. I'm going to try and bring mine up to the top so we can look at it. That has all of these different instances of site content. Now, I believe that the one you want to find it's the third one from the top, I believe, and I want you to double click on it. Now, if I'm correct, it should take you down to around line 1081. Is that where it took you? Nope, it didn't. Okay, so yours was site content. Okay, I'm sorry. Click on the second one from the top. Okay, that's right. 1075. I'm going to change that on my. Oh, I see. It says copy the code around line 1073, so I'm going to put 1075 here. Okay, so let me explain to you what's left to do to make this work, right? All that's left to do, you guys remember that on the templates there, on the sidebar template and the page template, that we went in, we put a little number 2 after site content, right? And we put a little number 2 after widget area, right? So all we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to find the site content styles that WordPress is using. We're going to copy them and paste them right underneath, and we're going to put a little 2 on them so that now it's using our styles, okay, for this left sidebar, right? So find the one, you're down at 1075, and what you want to do is you want to highlight the entire style. So I'm going to go up a little so you can see what it looks like. It should look just like this. You want to highlight from that dot, which is the beginning of the style, it's called a class, all the way to and including the curly bracket at the end. Now you want to copy that, so you could do Control-C or you can do Edit Copy. And then you want to scroll down and put your cursor right underneath it, and you want to paste it back in right underneath it. Once you've pasted it in, you simply want to put the number 2 at the end of content. So the style looks identical, but now it's using this one called site content 2. Now they're not all going to be identical, but we have to replicate these styles so that the left sidebar will always be able to find all the styles that it needs. You guys there? Okay. Now there's a second one that we have to change that's called site content. It's in your list, and I believe it is, let me look at Jessica's here. I think it's,
Change the widget area?
yeah, it's the 5th one down. Double click on it. What?
Can we do the widget area?
Not yet. We have another site content. It's the 5th one down. So if you click on that one, Jessica, what number is that for you guys? What line number is that?
2952.
2952. Okay. Okay, so about line number 2952 is where you should be. And you should see something that says, let me scroll down a little so you can see the one. Yeah, here it is. It should say dot site content float left and then width 65 point blah blah blah. So copy that whole, highlight that whole thing from the dot all the way through to the end parentheses. Copy it and paste it in right underneath and put a 2 at the end of site content. And what else are we going to do?
Change it to float right.
You're going to change the float to right. So basically what's happening is the existing web page had 2 sections. It had a site content section and it had a widget area section, which I'm just going to call WA, right? The site content area was float left, which meant it was on the left side of the page, and the widget area was on the right side of the page. Well, if we change this to float right, that means that the site content is going to go over on the right. And then we'll go in and do some changes to the widget area. Okay, so it should say site-content 2 float right. Okay. Now that's all we're going to do with the site content. We're done with that one. But we are going to have to do 2 little widget areas, and then we're going to have to do a big chunk of widget area. So what I'd like you to do now is do Control F to bring up that search box again, and delete whatever's in that find box and type widget-area. And then do find all. Okay, so click on that first one. Yeah, that's the first one, 1090. Okay, double click on the first one that comes up. It should be around 1090. Line 1090. Okay, on this one you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to highlight and copy widget area, and you're going to paste it in right underneath, and you're going to call it widget area 2. Now, I want you to notice that the margin here is 3 numbers. Who remembers what these numbers apply to? What's the first one apply to? Top. What's the middle one? Right and left and bottom. Right. Now we don't have to change them, but it's just weird that there's 3 numbers in there, and I wanted you to understand what that was. Okay, so widget area 2. That's the only thing we changed is we add the 2. Okay, the other widget area I want you to go to is scroll down. Let me see what number I got here. 3077. Oh, I'll be able to find it. Hold on a second. Nope, that's not it. Okay, do me a favor. Go into your code window here, grab your cursor, or grab your scroll bar and scroll down to about line 3077. It's probably not going to be exactly there, but it's going to be a little above or below that. And what you're looking for is a widget dash area section. And I'll show you what it looks like. So around 3077. Anybody that finds it, tell me what the exact number is.
Got 2988.
At 2984.
2988, 2984, something like that? Okay, so the 2984 area. Okay, so what you want to do is that one will look like this. You want to highlight and copy the widget area, paste it in underneath it, call it widget area 2, and change the float to left. And what that's going to do is move this widget area over onto the left side of the page. So we're just flipping the two, the site content and the widget area. We're flipping. Now, so far so good. If we uploaded all this and looked at it right now, our main content and our widget areas would switch position. But there's one thing that wouldn't happen, which is the widget area would get all kind of weird and gunky looking. And that's because the widget area has a bunch of styles applied to it that set the spacing and the font size and the color. So the last thing we have to do is we have to go to a section where there's a whole bunch of widget areas. We have to copy and paste it in like we did, and we have to change all the widget areas to widget area 2. So this one will be easy to find. Do your Control F again. In other words, your find box. And now I want you to put in, and this is on your page here, it's right in the middle of that bottom section where it says do a search, command plus F, blah, 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 for / asterisk sidebar asterisk /. So that's what I want you to put in this box, / asterisk space sidebar with a capital S space asterisk /. Okay, so you want to search for this and then click Find All. Okay, it should come up with just one match. All right? So double click on that down in your Find window. Is there anybody who didn't get it? Okay, I'll make sure you get it before we move on. So, do Control F for me. Okay, you didn't have a space there, and there. Double click on it.
Okay, I do.
You need to? Okay. So you go with 4 in there, like that. Space here. Space here. Don't want that. Don't want that. We're almost done, you guys. Okay, and then you double click on that. Okay. We're almost done. It's just going to be one more minute, and then we'll finish. You found it. You found it. Okay. Anybody else not find it? Raise your hand. Control left. Oh, you don't want sidebar left. That's fine. Did I type sidebar left?
No, I was going off there, so sidebar.
Okay. So now all we have is one last thing left, or two last things left to do. So now what I want you to do is put your cursor right in front of that line, the sidebar line. By the way, Jessica, what line number are you on?
1250.
One more?
1250.
Okay. So put your cursor right in front of that, and then scroll your mouse down. Go to the right-hand side and use the scroll bar, and scroll down until you get to the area where it says footer in gray. Like that. Then go ahead and hold down your shift key and click your mouse right above the word footer. hold down your shift key, click your mouse right above the word footer, and it should highlight all of the widget areas underneath that sidebar comment area. Everybody got it? Okay, now do Control C to copy it. And then click right underneath that highlighted area and do Control V to paste it in. Now, after you paste it in, scroll back up and scroll very slowly until you get to that comment that says sidebar. And I want you to change it to say sidebar, to change it to say left sidebar. So in other words, or sidebar left, I'm sorry. I'll show you what it looks like here if I can just get there. Here, I'll just search for it. It'll be easier for me. Sidebar left. Okay, so you want to type this in there so it's easy to distinguish from the section above it, which is called sidebar. Now, the last thing that will require any effort from you is you need to go through this section that you just pasted in, everything under sidebar left but before footer, and on every one of these lines where it says widget area, you need to put a little number 2. Okay? And there's probably about a dozen of them. And all of these are the little styles that get used to make the widget area the way it looks. So scroll down there and do them all. Just put little number 2s right after there. Make sure you don't put any space between them. It'll take a second, but when you're done, then we're just one step away from making this work. Give you guys a second to do that. Now, when we upload these and look at the site, don't be upset if it doesn't look exactly the way it should. We did a lot of complicated steps here, and one of them could have gotten a little off, and it's easy enough to fix. Okay, but can you see how complex it can be to change code, right? I mean, and all we wanted to do was take the sidebar and move it to the left, but in order to do that, we had to move the content to the right, and then we had to take all the site contents and make duplicates of them and call them site content 2. And then we had to take all the widget areas and make duplicates of them and call them widget area 2 so that we can call them instead of the originals. Now, like I said, this is an extreme example, but it's not uncommon to have to do a lot of coding to make a custom site, custom template like this. Okay, how are we doing? Is everybody there? Raise your hand if you're not quite there. Okay, good. Now what I want you to do is go up to Dreamweaver top left and do File, Save All. Okay? Then I'd like you to come over to the right-hand side in your Files menu, click on that little button on the far right that will give you the split screen view. I want you to click on your left sidebar underscore template file, then hold down your shift key and click on your style.css so that all of your files are highlighted. When you've done that, I want you to then take your mouse and go up to the arrow at the top of this little menu and click on it. And that is the put arrow. That will send your stuff up to the server and will overwrite the existing files there with this new content.
Dependent files included.
I'm sorry, the question was who?
Dependent files included.
You can say no on dependent files included because we're sending everything up. Okay, now when we first go look at your website, you're not going to notice any change because we've made a new template, but we haven't applied it to anything yet. Okay? Has everybody uploaded their files? Okay, so now let's go to Firefox. You can turn off Firebug if you want by going to the lower right corner of your screen and clicking on the X, and that will close Firebug out. Okay, now what I need you to do is go into the back end of your website. So click on the tab which has your dashboard open. And then I need you to roll over the Pages link on the left-hand side and click on that, which will bring up a list of all your pages. Now, you need to select a page that you're going to apply this template to. And so let's see, what kind of pages do you guys have? You have, everybody has different ones. Okay, so pick a page. It doesn't matter which one it is. Just pick a page that's just what you might consider a normal standard page. Okay, and click on it so that it opens up. I'm going to do mine from the front of the website so that I make sure to get this page. Okay, so it will open up your page. It'll look something like this, right? Scroll down, look over on the right-hand side of your page here, and look to where it says Template, and click on the drop-down menu underneath Template. And there should be a choice in there called Left Sidebar Template. Is there? Okay, that's the template you just made. WordPress picked up on it and said, oh, there's a new template here, so I should display that in the list of possible templates. Okay, so click on that, Left Sidebar Template, so that's chosen. Then click the blue Update button. And then at the top of the page, click the View Page button. Now, with any luck, your sidebar will flip over to the left side of the page. How are we doing? Yes? Groovy?
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it? Okay. It's bound to happen on a few. And it's just that some code.
But there's one that I didn't transfer to the server. That's called Left Sidebar Template. I'll have to do that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I did these four.
Well, that one's in the wrong area. So let me move this one. And let's upload it. So it was a crash. Yeah, it was just in the wrong.
Because it was outside of figured.
Yeah, it did. It's over here, but I don't know. There's nothing in it right now.
Okay.
Okay. Did anybody else have a problem? Okay. All right. Now I realize. Congratulations. You all did a great job on that. I realize that's a lot of steps, and trust me, you won't have to do this every time you customize a template, right? I just wanted once again to demonstrate that it can be complex and what the mechanics are that are underlying the customization of a template. All right. But what you just did is part of your assignment for Project 2. So you're already a third of the way there in the customizing of the templates. Next week, we'll look at how to do the other two custom templates and also how to make custom styles, and you'll be well on your way to doing Project 2. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Once again, you guys all did a great job. That's really all I have for you tonight. Don't want to burn you out too terribly much. Please do keep up on your chapters in the book. This week we are looking at, let me go ahead and bring up what we're looking at this week. Chapter 6, Jazzing Up Your Posts. Okay, and you guys are good to go.